Welcome back to another episode of the Excellence Cartel, where we're kind of under half lockdown, half not lockdown, because I'm free down here. You guys aren't anywhere else, unless it's that change.
I'm still doing the same thing I've been doing.
Yeah, I know. Still same life. Still same life. But this week we are joined by the mighty Austin Stout. We're going to be going over adrenal health. But before we begin our episode and I get to our young, suave-looking Jeffrey Sue, who's looks boyishly cute today without his facial hair, we need your all's help. We are looking at doing the Physique Education Collective. We were going to set to do it in July. We were not able to do it, obviously, because of this COVID shit. Actually, it was due for May. That's right. It was like May.
It was May.
And then we looked at it. We were talking in back channels about doing it in July, and then July just kind of blew up. So we are looking at September 4th. It is Labor Day weekend. September 18th. It's a Saturday. Both these days are Saturdays. Saturday, September 4th.
In Nashville.
Saturday, September 18th in Nashville, Tennessee. I think that more people would want to come on Labor Day weekend because Nashville, by the end of the month, is going to be phased all the way open, including bars. I guess tourism is what we are known for here. Everyone who comes to Nashville always has a good time. So I'm leaning that way, but we want your all's input. So if you guys could just message either myself, Austin, Jeffrey Sue, Jason Theobald, one of us four, and kind of give us a vote of September 4th or September 18th, and we will get with Lauren and Vince and make that happen one of those days. The other thing is we have a fee. If you guys haven't been listening, it's because we ask you guys to, if you learn something from the podcast or you enjoy us and our beautiful bantering that we do, because we're just studly gentlemen, that you guys share us on social media and tag us. And if you guys be so inclined to write us a review on iTunes reviews, the written reviews, you guys, we're doing great. We've had a lot of 5 stars, no other stars, which is awesome, but we need the written reviews because it pushes us up with the algorithm.
Pause it right now and go do it.
Yeah, pause it right now. Well, I mean, I can just keep bantering and just kill up time and just why they're still doing it. But if you're driving, don't do it. Put your phone down. But you shouldn't be driving because half the country's under lockdown. So it depends on where you're at. But anyway, so if you guys just pay it forward, we appreciate it. But I'm going to turn it over to the mighty, beautiful, ever-inspiring Jeffrey Sue.
Austin was mighty. I'm the great Jeffrey Sue.
So how's your last 7 days been?
Man, the last 7 days have been very good, very stressful. A lot of my clients who listen to this podcast, you guys know that I had to, all the people I've been welcoming onto the team, and I had to shut down my enrollment, and then people have been still paying me on the website, and I had to make a post saying, don't do that. And they think that like by paying on the website, they're going to get a place on the team. And I'm just like super stressed. I'm backed up with plans and I need to work a little smarter, as Jason said to me before we started recording. But, it's good. It's good though. I mean, I could be complaining that business is bad, so I'm lucky and I'm blessed and I'm very thankful for that. I just need to manage my time a little bit better. Other than that, life's great. The Bronco's good. The M4 is still being fixed. Everything's good. And like people have been saying that I've actually improved my physique through quarantine.
Get the fuck out of here.
I know, right? So like I've been training in this garage with like, my buddy Steve, and he's just he's this 50-year-old Italian dude, and he is just old school. He doesn't give a shit about overtraining. He doesn't care about like time under tension or any of that bullshit. He just lifts heavy ass weight and we just sling it for 2.5 hours every day.
Dude, we need to send him the video of you on the hack squat where me and Austin were giggling behind you as we kept making you go, and you're like, fuck you, Jeff.
But listen, dude, training's going great. Everything's good. So I can't really, I got nothing bad to say. Everything's great.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Jason, how are things with you, buddy?
This week's been pretty much status quo. I don't know that anything's new. I did have my my hormone class that I teach on metabolic adaptations with the hormonal dysfunction, and it went really well. I had 15, a lot of good questions, a lot of people already taking the reins and trying to help their clients. So that was cool. So I will have another one in June because that one was a packed, and I'll start having a gut protocol one coming soon. Other than that, Not much else to report. I am still on a waiting list, but I did open it up and grab one person off of it. I had one person drop off, but I've just been really swamped, guys. So anyone who's hitting me up, I have educated my coaches on how to help a lot of these amenorrhea issues, stress-induced issues. And so don't be afraid to hit me up. You can either get on the wait list or you can use one of my coaches who are more than capable of helping in these situations. Other than that, I'm ready to hear what Austin has to say on some adrenal issues and get this thing going.
All right. Well, I had a great last few days. I got off the grid Thursday afternoon, went to Chattanooga, dropped a little acid Friday, and watched Have a Good Trip on Netflix. And
that's good.
Oh yeah, dude. Came back like I just had a super time. I drank literally every single day I was down there. Didn't train, didn't do fast cardio, didn't read a book, did not listen to a podcast. I just listened to like hippie fucking music and fucking did drugs, pretty much, I guess would be like a better word, but way of saying it. But I had a great time.
Did you leave the hotel room or
I had an Airbnb and Friday I did. I wandered around, but I wasn't like so far out of my mind. I didn't know like I wasn't like looking at somebody like their face is fucking melting. Like,
right, but I mean, like you took a trip during COVID, so like you couldn't eat out, right? Like,
no, Chattanooga's 50% open in restaurants and bars, place packed. So I mean, it was great. I saw no one in a mask. The only ones who were wearing masks were like servers.
Gotcha.
But it was a good time. Let's see. I've been getting new clients like you guys. I'm still able to kind of still onboard people, so I don't have like any like shut-offs or anything like that like you cool guys have got. But popular kids. Oh, terrible. But I wanted to share with you guys, I had the most fucking amazing parenting win last night. And if Keegan ever hears this one day, he's gonna like hate me. I'm probably gonna like be like murdered by him. But we're getting to the age now where self-exploration is something that he's kind of now aware of, like, oh, it feels great to touch my dick. You know, in fact, just let me like hump the shit out of this pillow with the door wide open and like be naked. And Ashley's caught him a few times, I've caught him a few times, so finally like last night he got
Isn't he only 8?
He'll be 10 in December, dude.
Oh, okay. Well.
So, but I think what it is, because, you know, he's got the older brother. I'm telling you this, Jason, because you've got an older and a younger son. And I think that the older brother, like, dumped shit in his head when he was here for spring break. Because Jared was making cracks about, like, you get out of the room, like, jerk off or stuff like that, you know? And I'm just like, all right, Jared, just put a sock on your doorknob. At least I have privacy. So I had that big talk with Keegan and about making sure your door's shut, put a sock on the doorknob, just kind of.
Man, kids have changed, dude. I don't remember humping pillows at 10. I just don't.
Dude, but it's so funny because they'll have like some dirty trap rap music going on. One time I busted it, I'm like, whoa, I felt like I was like in Young Jeezy's house or some shit. And I was like, what's going on? So, but anyway, I ended up, he was like, thanks for, like, he was so thankful. And like, he was like, thanks for having that talk with me. I don't feel embarrassed. I'm like, finally, like one fucking win as a parent. Like, I didn't walk away going like, I hope that didn't fuck him up more than I've already done, you know, like, you have to have those conversations. So anyway, that's been my week. And Austin, how's your last 7 days been, sir?
So I think I can one up you on that story. Actually,
let's do it.
I wasn't gonna say, you know, didn't plan on saying this in the air, but so, you know, I had the barn gym outside, right? And had a couple local clients like that live close. They, you know, they'll come over and train or whatever. And then, so I don't know. I have no idea what time of day it was. I don't know how many times it's happened. I have no clue, but we have a backyard. The barn is kind of like spaced out from the back, like in the back of the yard on the end of the property. And apparently somebody had been pissing out behind the barn, and one of the moms got pissed that was over there and called the cops. Cops showed up at my house on Saturday, I think it was. And they're like, you know, he's like, is that your gym? I said, yeah, you know, it's my property. This is just my private building or whatever. Because at first I thought he was coming to get pissed off because there was someone at my gym.
Yeah.
He didn't say anything. And then in a second, you know, and then he's like, well, someone I called in, there was someone someone had apparently come out from the gym, was urinating behind it in broad daylight, like visible to these little kids playing in the yard. And I'm like, fuck. Jeez, what the fuck? It's so, of course I took care of it. He was cool about it, warned and everything, but he's like, if they call again, I can't guarantee no one will press charges or whatever. I went over and apologized to the neighbors and shit. Like, I'm sorry guys, it wasn't me. I took care of it. And the dad was cool about it. He was, he's like, I didn't really care, but mom was pissed because the daughter was out in the yard, whatever. I'm like, fuck, what the fuck, cops coming over here for that,
No.
So you've had some good 7 days too.
I was like, dude, what the fuck is here of all things? Because at first I thought it was because of the gym or whatever, but no, sort of indirectly. But yeah, that was exciting.
I thought about you today when I was training hamstrings. I stumbled on a band that I've kind of started digging called Slaughter to Prevail. And I know out of these other two gentlemen, you're like the only dude who listens to death metal, but who's your favorite death metal artist? So that way people get to know Austin Stout, the real Austin Stout.
My favorite. Oh man. There's a lot of genres within that. You know what I mean?
I know. Just give me one. You just give me one. We'll just say it's a collective unity of just straight death.
Oh, so what was I listening to last week? I got into the kick of like a lot of Canadian death metal, like 90s Canadian death metal. And I was listening to, because had that song by Cryptopsy, the Slit Your Gut song on, fucking playing over and over again. Because it's just watching my autonomic nervous system detonate into pieces. So anyone suffering from adrenal issues, I do not advise that.
Right. See, this is why I brought that up. There was a purpose to that death metal conversation because we're going to start talking about the adrenals. So you actually have a story involving adrenals, which is rare for a man mostly to have that. And I wanted to kind of kick it open with that. Like, now you are a coach. If you want to kind of give the listeners a little bit of background about your company and like what you do, what you specialize in, and then start kind of how you got into discovering your adrenal health issues, and then we'll go down the road from there.
Yeah, so a lot of the people listening probably know who I am, but if not, I've been coaching, I don't know, probably 9 or 10 years, right around there now. Actually had met Jason when I first started competing. I was actually a teenager at the time. I was still in high school. And slowly over the years, I work with competitors, Gym Pop, a pretty wide array of people, but I've definitely picked up a lot more of the crowd with health issues, whether it be gut issues or hormonal issues or things like that. And I wouldn't say that's necessarily my niche, but I would say at least half of my inquiries are kind of in that field now, just because I put out a lot of that content. If anyone watches my YouTube channel or follows my social media, I put out a lot of content in regards to that stuff. And then my podcast. But yeah, that's my company's Integrated Muscle and Health. You'll just find me under my actual name. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what else you guys want to know. I think most people probably know me on here.
Yeah, you're a popular guy. Beautiful too. So I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Listen, men got to build men. Okay, women are building women. We're building each other. You're beautiful. All right. So everyone knows the mighty Austin Stout. So how did you got into bodybuilding in teenage years? Is that what maybe led to the adrenal health issues that you had in your experience? Because that's why I met you through Jason, through obviously Facebook. But I remember when I first started following you a couple of years ago, you were working through that, working with Dr. Serrano, and I found it to be very interesting because you're very candid and open about it. So I was kind of wanting to kind of crack that open for everyone.
Well, first off, I've had multiple different things happen to me, and all of which were my fault. And they were, more or less, like I could say maybe my body wasn't, capacity to be beat up wasn't very good or whatever, but most of the stuff that I've learned has been because of my own mistakes and things that I've went through. But yeah, I mean, it could have been kind of a cascade of things, because at first I ended up with hypogonadism. I had low test levels, which we couldn't recover. So I ended up on TRT, and that was when I was pretty young. I was 22, I think, at the time. Just turned 22. And I competed naturally. I like a lot of people, I competed too much. and got lean and too often and all that. And then I just wasn't able to really recover. And then, of course, that temporarily made me feel better initially, but I had that kind of extremist mindset and I wanted to train more and train harder and all that. And it just eventually, I couldn't tell you how long my adrenals were bottomed out. It could have been for a while, but it actually, the way that I found out was I had these symptoms, general symptoms like fatigue, right? But then I started to experience other symptoms like chronic loose stools and like just like my hair falling out and just all this other stuff. And on the surface, when you kind of go and get lab work done, sometimes you can spot this stuff in your general blood work. Like there's some things that'll stick out, but not always. You could have adrenal insufficiency and have relatively normal like blood work. My test levels were normal, right? Because I was on TRT. My thyroid was normal, so that wasn't causing fatigue. And as I started to dig into stuff more, I noticed too on my labs that, because this is when I was kind of getting into, like, really getting heavily into looking at lab work and all this. And I noticed that my electrolytes were off in my labs. I'm like, well, that's odd. And then I noticed that my blood sugars were kind of going all over the place and kind of funky. And my diet was consistent, right? No real rhyme or reason for it. And at the time, I had been going to Dr. Serrano for quite a while, and he is definitely a very renowned doctor. If anyone doesn't know him, but he had recommended a test that at the time it was really new. It was called the Dutch test, which you guys have probably talked about it. At the time, it was literally just becoming available to the doctors. He's like, I got this new test. I've been using it for the last year or so. I want you to try it. And I tried it. And sure enough, it's a 4-point test that shows, it shows a wide array of hormones, sex hormones and stuff, but it also shows cortisol patterns throughout the day. I was just flat all day. I mean, I was nearly at zero all day long. I mean, and cortisol is an essential hormone to live. You need it or you'll die. So if anyone has researched adrenal insufficiency, people that have an autoimmune issue, like they'll have like Addison's disease, they can have adrenal crisis where they'll bottom out and they have to go to the hospital and they literally need to be medicated because if not, they can die. So granted, when you research adrenal insufficiency or adrenal fatigue, you're normally getting you're normally getting that kind of diagnosis, that like primary adrenal insufficiency, whereas mine was just self-induced, right? Mine was self-induced because, yeah, maybe I had maybe I just didn't have a body that liked being pushed that hard, but also it was just me probably being overtrained and then also overstressed. And I think what was most interesting about mine was I slept 7 to 8 hours a night. I could sleep easy because I was so damn tired. Yep. And I would sleep 7 to 8 hours a night. I only trained 4 to 5 days a week. My nutrition was good. I wasn't like overly lean. In fact, my body comp was worsening at the time because my body was so stressed. But like, man, this is so odd. And I had to figure out what was causing, why was this happening? And it really boiled down to stress perception. I was just really bad at navigating stress. And because my business was really picking up, things were doing really well. I was very, very busy. I wasn't used to managing that much workload and what have you. And I had other stuff going on in my life. Like I had, if you guys remember 2015, my house burnt down. And then I had a bunch of stuff that just kind of happened around the same time, kind of put the nail in the coffin. And I just wasn't able to manage the stress. And granted, I was still doing my day-to-day tasks. My body just said, nope, my adrenals were tanked. I couldn't produce any cortisol. And the way you could describe it would be if you were to watch like an action movie or something, the scene kind of, something jumps out at you or something pumps you up. No, you're just flat. You get no arousal from anything. You don't get any arousal from training. You get nothing. You're just flat all the time. That's kind of what it feels like.
Nice. Do you guys have any questions or you want me to keep going?
You can go for now. I do
Oh.
have some coming up.
Okay. Sue, do you have
Okay.
one?
No. I said keep going for now, Jeff.
So something caught my eye when the electrolytes were off. Can you elaborate? Like, what were your symptoms when your electrolytes were off? And then I wanted to know more about what you meant about the blood sugars being off, because that's something that I've noticed too with one person I've worked with their adrenal insufficiency issues was the blood sugars are just wild. So I kind of wanted to get your take on that, on those two things.
So I think first it's probably good to define a couple things, because adrenal issues isn't just insufficiency. It doesn't just mean that you're flatlined. It can be like some people, and I know Jason and I have talked about this, some people will get kind of a flip-flop pattern. They'll have low cortisol in the morning and they'll have high cortisol at night, right?
I've suffered from that.
Right. I remember you told me that, and
Yep.
and that's such a bitch, because then you can't sleep very well.
No.
So then it gets worse. So but if you just look at what happens when cortisol is released, you typically see glucose go up. You have like hepatic glucose release, right? So now you're having irregular signaling from your hypothalamus and from your pituitary, and you're not correctly releasing glucose from your liver. It's not metabolizing glucose the way it should. It's maybe not storing it the way it should. And so that's why you'll have someone with actual insufficiency, typically they'd see low blood sugars. They'd see times where it would drop, and it really shouldn't, because our bodies are made to maintain blood sugar. Like, we could fast for 3 days and our blood sugar we're not going to die from low blood sugar, right? Because we have glycogen stored. Our liver is going to pump out glucose, and if it has to, it'll break down amino acids and muscle and all that stuff, and it'll just keep your glucose level. But someone with that insufficiency and lack of cortisol, they're going to have funky hepatic glucose. So that's kind of where that glucose bit comes in. And then, of course, if someone's erratically stressed up and down all the time, they're going to have glucose swings from that as well. So anyone with any kind of adrenal issue might notice that their blood glucose is kind of abnormal, I guess was the takeaway. And you asked about
Your electrolytes.
Electrolytes, yeah.
Yeah, how'd that feel? Because I've never heard that one tied together, but the moment you said it, I was like, well, it makes sense.
Yeah, so essentially all that's happening there is your aldosterone levels are off, and so your sodium and potassium balance isn't correct. So if you look at someone with adrenal insufficiency, well, it goes both ways. So you look at someone with high stress and high cortisol, high adrenaline, they'll have high blood pressure, or their blood pressure can go up, right? Just
Right.
like when you train, it goes up temporarily, so someone on the opposite end with insufficiency that's been stressed for a really long period of time, they might have low blood pressure, and you'll actually see kind of a flip-flop in electrolytes where my potassium would get high in my blood, and I didn't have low sodium that I remember, but I did have high potassium, and sometimes my chloride levels would get kind of weird. So the aldosterone is what's controlling the electrolyte balance there, because really anyone with healthy kidneys that drinks enough fluid, you're pretty much going to have normal electrolyte levels on lab work. That's not something that you see skewed that often, So it's funny because I did a video, like one of my whiteboard videos, and I talked about how to look for stress on lab work. And that's one of the things I talked about. And I had a couple people message me and show me their lab work and told me they felt like shit and their electrolytes were all off and all this. I'm like, well, there it is, so that might be kind of an uncommon one, but I experienced it at least.
Yeah. No, I wanted to get that out there because I thought that was an interesting thing you said, and that there was a reason to it. Because once you said it, I was like, well, makes sense. So there's got to be a good reason somewhere. I would be curious what the markers were specifically.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question though. You said you had flat cortisol all day. How did that impact your life with your business growing and everything else in between? Like how did that feel like?
Well, one of the things about cortisol is that it's also there to help you, because when you have cortisol release, normally there's other catecholamines that come with it too. Things like adrenaline, you might have dopamine, right? And it puts you in a heightened state to deal with whatever you're dealing with, right? So if that's training, that's great, right? If that's emotional stress, it can also help you deal with that emotional stress. Now, the fact that I didn't have that resource or that hormone or hormones to deal with it made it extremely difficult. So literally it was just powering through on sheer will to get stuff done. And I knew that I had to do it and I refused not to do it type of thing. But if you look at like extreme adrenal insufficiency, people that live with Addison's disease and stuff, some of them can't do anything. Like they can't work. They can't even like they can hardly function because they just feel like such crap all the time. So had I
miserable.
Oh yeah, it's awful. Like anything you enjoy is literally no arousal. Like you think of standing on the road and there's a fucking semi truck coming at you. You're like, oh, should I jump out of the way? Am I good? Should I be alarmed? You know what I mean? It's just
I should be scared, but I'm not.
Right. It just everything felt so, of course, extreme fatigue, but just everything felt flat. And then when you would go to train, your CNS doesn't fire up at all. So of course you feel weak. You know, you're not going to really get that heightened CNS response. You're going to feel like weak. I mean, it's just a very dull existence.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good way to describe it. Dull. All right. So we talked about electrolytes being off. The blood sugars are off. Your cortisol and the Dutch test of the 4 point said flatline. Any other markers for adrenal insufficiency as we start walking this down? Because I'm sure this will start leading into the pathways Jason wants to talk about. But any other markers you as a coach look for with adrenal insufficiency outside those things you've personally experienced, perhaps from a questionnaire or just getting to know them?
Well, there's a lot that goes on in that feedback loop potentially, because if in that high stress state, we can start robbing pregnenolone and progesterone, and we start dealing with estrogen dominance and like all of that stuff. But if we're just looking at it, and that might be what Jason's going to talk about, I don't know, but if we're just looking at adrenals specifically, I'm trying to think on my personal Dutch test, I actually did have kind of low progesterone. I know males don't really look at progesterone that much, and their levels are pretty low to begin with. But I think mine were like 0 on the levels. So
makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, typically a male's, like I said, a male's level is not very high anyhow. But yeah, I think mine were probably 0. My test levels, had I been not on TRT, I'm sure would have been in the tank.
Right. That's where I was going ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure they would have been in the tank. Like I said, electrolytes were off. My blood pressure fluctuated kind of funky. My glucose was erratic. Trying to think anything else on the Dutch test. Yeah, so my cortisone levels, which that's an interesting one because the Dutch actually shows cortisol and cortisone.
Yeah.
So if you know anything about cortisol, it's also involved in immune function and anti-inflammatory properties. So now not only can I not train, but I can't recover from training. So your recovery is just lousy. Your immune system is going to be crap. I think my white blood cell count was like a 2, or it was like, I think it was around 2. I think the bottom of the range is like 4 or 5 on blood work. So my immune system was shit. That's all the stuff you kind of expect from that type of thing.
Now, you as a coach, you get someone and they're like, hey, they have what you would feel to be classic adrenal symptoms that you might want to go explore further. What kind of blood work are you looking for specifically? Like, so you're going to go off the electrolytes, blood sugar. Were you going to do a Dutch test? You're going to do looking at the white blood cells. Is there anything else before? I'm sure Jason and me were going to talk about that test and cortisol access.
Yeah. Well, part of it, unfortunately, sometimes there's a budget barrier there. If I'm throwing like $600 worth of blood work at them, they freak out. So I try to break it down into the most useful components that I can. If they're cool with it, we're going to go straight to a Dutch test, just because I know that I'm going to be able to see the cortisol patterns, and I'll be able to know pretty much right off the bat. And it's going to show the other urinary metabolites and all their estrogen, progesterone, and all that good stuff. So I can see that, especially for women. I'm going to try to go that route. If you want to go the blood route and it's cheaper, or you have a doctor that's really cool with doing labs, I mean, you can still measure all that stuff. You can still measure CBC, CMP. You can do progesterone, you can do estrogen. If you do it around the right time in your menstrual cycle, it's like the 3rd-ish week, somewhere right in there you want to be. If you even have, females that do this, they probably don't even have a menstrual cycle anyhow if they're that stressed out. Also, you can do AM cortisol on the labs, so that would give you something. So what I do now personally is I don't do Dutch tests all the time because I'm not just going to keep dropping like $300 or $400 all the time. But I add AM cortisol to almost all my lab work just to make sure that I'm not tanking in the morning.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So I'll add that AM cortisol via blood on all my labs. And anyone that I've worked through these issues with, we'll tack that on there every time, just as kind of like a little assurance policy to make sure that they're not bottoming out. And then for PM, a lot of the way that I can tell PM is just there's a couple things. If how their sleep is, the way that they feel, a lot of the time, like I'll have people that, let's say they're so tired they fall asleep, but they'll wake up in the middle of the night, heart's racing, their adrenaline's pumping. That's a cortisol dump, right? We know that their patterns are all whacked out. Their circadian rhythm is off. So they're waking up at, 2:00 in the morning and their heart rate's like 120 and they can't fall back to sleep.
Yep. That's
a cortisol issue. I mean, so yeah, you can do blood if you know what else to look for.
Yeah,
I think
that's exactly how I teach it in my class. Yeah, exactly what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, if you want and there's also one other thing to it is sometimes this is more of a psychological thing, but sometimes, especially with people that are very unaware of their stress, I want the most data I can in front of me because I want to be like, look, I have numbers. Look at your numbers. You know what I mean? Have something quantitative so they don't want to sit there and argue with me that they're not stressed out. I'm like, well, your cortisol is like 5 times over range or it's bottomed out or whatever it is. And I'm like, are you going to listen to me now? You know what I mean? So, yeah, go straight to the Dutch if you have the budget to do it. If not, blood, CBC, CMP, get test estrogen, get thyroid levels checked, get reverse T3 checked because if might have really jacked up reverse T3, get progesterone and estradiol checked, get AM cortisol checked. I mean, those are your main ones.
And just for people listening out there, on lifeextension.com, there is it's called weight loss panel. It has those. It doesn't have like androstenedione, I don't think, and a few other.
Does that DHEA in there?
It does have DHEA, okay, yeah. But it doesn't have like androstenedione and Diol. But for the cost, Take 15 gives you 15% off. It's like $192. So I go with that with most of my women who have these issues, or really anyone. But I'm just saying, like, that's a really affordable panel.
What's that panel called again? One more time.
It's like comprehensive weight loss panel or something. Just go on Life Extensions and dig around. You'll find it. It's like $206, but with that, 15% off, it's $192.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure people.
50%.
That's literally the exact panel that I use.
Yeah. It gets you mostly what you need. I used to use private MDs for everything I wanted, but they jacked their rates up to $678 for it, and you just can't ask someone to pay for that.
No, that's ridiculous. Almost $700. Damn.
Yeah.
Real quick, while we're on the subject of cortisol and testosterone, since we have male listeners, would you think? So cortisol and testosterone obviously go on axis. So when you have high test, you usually don't have like a high cortisol, but if you have high cortisol, it's robbing from testosterone. So I've noticed now more in my own coaching, because I primarily coach gym pop. I have a few bodybuilders that I work with, but that's about it. But I've noticed a lot of gym pop lately, males under 35 who have low T, and the stress component is something that they don't really acknowledge. But once you like either get them on an HRV monitoring device or kind of like step back and really think about it, the stress component, how would you stress that to a male listening if they have, feelings of low sex drive, all these things? Would you have them think about their cortisol management as well, along with the TRT? Like if you had a client and you were talking to him right now, what would you say in regards to that to a male?
So this is like someone that's not on TRT, so they have
Correct.
low T level.
Just regular comes to you, hey, I want to get in shape, look the best I've looked going into 40 years of age. How would you explain that cortisol testosterone axis to them so they can kind of understand it?
I mean, sometimes honestly, I'll give them like an image that shows them. I'll just, it's like, here, this is what the axis look like. This is why your test levels are low. Kind of like what I would do with women. Like, this is why your progesterone is low. This is why you're not ovulating, because this cortisol steal. And if you give them, like, I think the biggest thing with people that they don't want to acknowledge issues is you got to give them something concrete that they can actually look at, whether it's a number on a lab or whether it's like an image or something, or otherwise they're not going to want to change. Because a lot of the time fixing that issue is a big lifestyle issue with them, whether their sleep habits are crappy or they just fly off the handle of stress all day long. You know what I mean? And they might think it's cheesy if I tell them to write down, like if I tell them just for their own purposes to journal every time they get pissed off in the week. Like they might like, why am I going to do that? I'm like, well, because you're pissed all the time. That's why. And so I try to give them something quantitative. And for males, it's not a lot different. I mean, their psyche is a little different than females, but I'm going to do something similar. I mean, I'm just going to try to, and you know what, if they don't want to listen to me, I'll be like, look, this is what's going to happen. You're going to deal with low T. You're going to deal with high stress. This problem is going to continue to get worse. Your body composition will probably continue to deteriorate. There's someone out there that will take your money and give you temporary body fat loss. And then you're going to regain twice as much as you lost. You're going to feel like crap. And I said, hey, if that's what you want, you don't have to listen to me. And normally, if you put it to them like that, most people with any sense will be like, okay. But, you're still going to get a few people that'll still tell you to piss off, unfortunately.
I have an observation here on this topic here. My guess is that Austin's low T issue was secondary to probably his high cortisol and his failure to metabolize cortisol properly, because usually, the body will keep pumping out cortisol for a long time while it's stressed. And then when you finally get to the point where you're not producing any, that body's been under stress for a really long time. So, my guess is that came first with him. And then there's that, as cortisol is catabolic, testosterone is anabolic. So what I explain to my people is that, cortisol literally helps you release amino acids, release glycogen, release fats for energy, and testosterone is anabolic. It helps your muscles store it and put it away. So they're literally the yin and yang of each other. And so I try to explain it that way. And so they're constantly in a state of breakdown instead of a state of build up. And with that reverse relationship, and that usually works pretty well for guys that I have to explain this to.
Yeah.
Good explanation. Do you guys have any questions?
I don't have a question, but it's more so like for the listeners and like just like a comment, because I have a couple men on my team that are like this, and the men seem to like to push through it. And the men who have come to me with adrenal issues or with low testosterone are the ones that have come from a CrossFit background or a marathon running or like a high cardio background, or they do paleo or they do keto. And they're very like intense individuals that like work in fields of like, let's say like medicine or law or like consulting or something. They're traveling all the time. They're very type A, high strung people. And that's the demographic, I guess, that, if it's a guy that suffers from this, that's the stereotypical character, I would say.
Yeah.
A funny I told this to a guy. So I did a consult the other day, and you guys will totally appreciate this. I did a consult the other day and pretty much fell into this category that we're talking about. Low T, probably secondary to stress and cortisol imbalance. And I told him, very intelligent guy, I said, 8 times out of 10, the people I see the most issue with are intelligent people. Why? Because they think the most. They normally have the most demanding lifestyle because they have some type of, position with work that requires a lot of mental output. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen to other people. I'm just saying that
it's an observation.
It is, and it seems to hold true for the most part, in that these type A, highly driven, usually, successful people are going to deal with these types of issues just because, you know, the guy that sits at home and he just trains and lives in his parents' basement and, you know, smokes weed in between his workouts and meals, he's probably doesn't have that much to worry about, right?
I mean, you're right. I mean,
life.
like mine started with law school and trying to bodybuild. You know, a lot of people were only focusing on that, and here I am trying to diet, keep up with my studies, train 5-6 days a week, and I know that's when my adrenal issues got really rolling, and I really didn't get them fixed till almost early 30s. So I dealt with it for quite some time. So yeah, I think that observation's probably pretty close to accurate.
Yeah, it's a hard thing too, because now you're in a situation where you don't really have the option to eliminate stress, because you pretty much have to do the stuff that you have to do, and it's required. There's only so much that you can eliminate from your day. Of course, there are some trash that people can clean up here and there, but for the most part, it really just boils down to your time management. Perception of stress is everything. And then also your routine, right? Your routine in terms of sleep hygiene and all that stuff. And for me, I can say now I'm busier than I was then. I just manage everything a lot better. And my perception to stress is, you guys know how it goes. I'm the youngest one on here, I'm pretty sure. So it's like stuff that used to be a 10 on your stressometer is now like a 1, you know, as you do more, simply because you get used to it and you get acclimated, you figure out how to troubleshoot, and you just let it roll off your shoulders.
So my question is, how long did it take you to fix it? Because I have a few women right now that they didn't get to me in time. And I always tell this story, you know, it's like a boxing match. Cortisol will keep trying to fight the good fight. And in the 12th round, it's finally gonna get knocked out. The gland's gonna finally stop producing. And now you're in a full adrenal insufficiency or fatigue, which is where you were. How long did it take you to reverse? Because I have one client, it is taking forever. We've done Dutch. We know what the issues are. And it's just taken forever.
Yeah, this is a hard one too, because if you've dug yourself in enough of a hole, you don't have any choice but to pull back something,
right?
Or you're not going to recover. So basically, what I did is I trained. I knew if I didn't train at all, it might go up quicker, but my psychological issues would be way worse than anything else. So that wasn't an option. I was like, no, that's out. So my option was, I can train less frequently, and I took pretty much nothing to failure at all for probably at least 5 or 6 months.
Okay. Yep.
I mean, that's a pretty significant amount of time.
Yeah,
you guys know how I like to train, and it was like that's not my cup of tea.
Those members at Titans Fitness got to know how you're training that fucking squat set where you're screaming over my headphones. I was like, who is that? Jason's like, that's Austin. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. Well, so long story short,
getting after it.
I had to really rethink. Yeah, I had to rethink what I was doing. But so basically, I took it down to, I would train 3 to 4 days a week, depending on how I felt. My days would be moderate volume. I would normally do a little more metabolic work, so like supersets, giant sets, things like that weren't just crushing my CNS under heavy load all the time. Most of my workouts, I would do maybe one loading exercise just to maintain strength, but it wouldn't be to failure. I would still leave a few reps in the tank. But what's funny is throughout that like 4 to 6 month period, I kept getting stronger, and because my CNS was recovering. Right? So I did that. Of course, I cleaned up my sleep hygiene as much as I could, which at the time, that wasn't something people talked about a lot, but now everyone talks about it.
Yeah.
And, I did some of the goofy stuff with like light, right? That's when I started getting into blue blockers at night. Every morning I would open my blinds and try to get sunlight in my eyes, stuff like that. Because if you've had really bad adrenal insufficiency, you're sensitive to light. Like you can't even, I couldn't even go outside and drive without sunglasses. It hurt my head so bad. And it got to the point where I didn't have to drive with sunglasses as much, and I could go out, and I'm not like staring at the sun, obviously, but I could go out and open my blinds on a sunny day, and I could look outside without my head hurting. And I knew that I was slowly recovering. So, I mean, yeah, 4 to 6 months at least, I went back and I did another test in about the 6-month range, and everything was pretty normal. I didn't just go right back to doing what I was doing before. The key was that I had to permanently change stuff that I was doing in order to just not revert right back to the same spot. But that's a long period of time for a lot of people. 6 months is a lot. And unfortunately, 6 months might be short. There's people that can take a lot longer than 6 months.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've had a few 18 months on different types of situations like these. But it gets really frustrating for the client. And I just wanted to let people listening kind of know like the time frames here. What supplementation did you add? Vitamin C helps. There's a lot of other things, that I know that, we put in one of our products, but what types of things were you using? Did you use anything, or did you just rely on rest and improving your sleep?
Yeah, so I did some general stuff. This is one too where if you have adrenal insufficiency, you don't want to try to take a bunch of stuff that's going to lower cortisol.
Right. Correct.
You think, a lot of the adrenal stuff, like you don't want to take like a high dose phosphatidylserine or something like that when you have low cortisol. So yeah, I did vitamin C. I increased the dose. I was doing around 3 grams a day.
Yep.
Kind of clinical. I don't know if you want to call it clinical dose, but I was doing about that much. I also did just some general adaptogens. I would do ashwagandha. I didn't go too crazy with adaptogens because some of them can potentially lower cortisol, so I didn't want to go too far into that. I didn't want to have to risk that. Initially, early on, I did do Granular.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah, I did Granular for the first few months. And then when I started feeling a little bit better, like when I started noticing improvements, I dropped the Granular out. I had talked to Dr. Serrano about potentially doing hydrocortisone like prescription, and it's the only thing with that is if you get too reliant on it, it doesn't really allow your adrenals to come back.
That would be my fear. Yeah.
So that was like a worst case scenario. So we didn't go that route. And then I also found at the time, I just started studying some more stuff. I found that I did not methylate very well. I was undermethylated. So I started doing methylated B vitamins because we found on my labs that I also had a B12 deficiency, which didn't make any sense because I ate tons of B12 in my diet.
Right.
So I lacked intrinsic factor in my gut to metabolize it.
Do you have MTHFR? Do you have an allele or?
Yeah, I did. So I think I did like a cheek swab test at the time or something. It was a while ago. But so I do methylated B vitamins all the time.
I have to as well. I have MTHFR as well. And look at it. I ended up with adrenal insufficiency as well at one point. So
yeah, it seems like that's kind of a common trend. And one of them that we noticed. So what was interesting, and this is kind of like a side note, but I was doing the methylated, and I also did it. He gave me an injection initially, right, just to get it, to get it up. And you can do injectable. You can get injectable, but I wanted to go the oral route. I didn't feel like hitting anymore. And I'm like, man, I don't feel any different. I'm still having these anemia symptoms, and my actual lab work was showing elevated B12, and my folate levels were normal and all that. And something that I had no idea this was even a thing, but Serrano actually told me that lithium was required to transport B vitamins into the cell. And so you could show high B vitamins in your blood, but you're not utilizing them. And I started taking a low dose lithium orotate, and instantly I felt a difference. And so now, anyone that has that, anyone that takes B vitamins and they don't help you at all, you might consider
even when you hit the methyl, it still wasn't doing its job.
Nope.
And the only way you knew that was because
there's just symptoms.
Okay.
Yeah. It was just symptoms because I was getting like the typical anemia, like dizziness and, all
Okay.
that, like that.
Yep.
So, it was just solely based on that. And it was no harm to try that lithium orotate, right? It's the elemental form. It's pretty harmless compared to like the carbonate that you'd be prescribed for like mood disorders, right? So I did that. I'm trying to think anything else. Like this was a while ago, but it was mostly just the adaptogens, the specific B vitamins. I did increase vitamin D dose, which just was low at the time because I don't go outside. And granular, I dropped the granular out, but I would say by about the 4 to 6 month mark, the only thing that I was really doing was the adaptogens and B vitamins. And because I don't care what supplements you take at the end of the day, if you don't change, like if it's stress related, if you don't change the lifestyle component, it's not going to matter. Right.
Real quick, I want to bring on the phosphosteroidin. What would be the dose you'd use on that? Because a lot of the literature I read said that functional medicine would use it to help repair the cortisol receptor. Is there a fine line for that, like 400 megs, 800 megs? I know Jason's got some of it in Corda-Ease, but
yeah, I think clinical dosing, it depends. You see products with as much as 800 in them. Now, is it going to have different effects at different dosing? Probably. That's the thing. If we're looking at strictly like lowering cortisol, you typically see people react most dramatically to that 600 to 800 range. So had I taken a lower dose to maybe repair the receptor, like 100 milligrams, it might have. I'm not sure. I couldn't tell you 100% for sure, but I just knew at the time, and keep in mind this was 4 or 5 years ago. I didn't want to risk anything that was going to potentially lower my cortisol levels.
It's not the tool to use when you're in. No, it's not.
I kept my supplements pretty minimum. Like I was even afraid to take. I didn't even want to take like Relora and rhodiola and things like those herbs and things that are traditionally adaptogens because I'm like, I don't know for sure if they'll make my cortisol drop even more, so I didn't take them.
Okay. Jason, do you have any other questions? Or you want me to start rolling?
You can ask one now. I just rifled off a few.
All right. I wanted to ask, I guess this could probably be something we can all chime in on, but what do you think in regards to constant competing and the effects that has on women in regards to the adrenal insufficiency? Now, you said personally that's what you felt gave it to you, or at least was a contributing factor along with stress and everything else. But how does constant competing affect women in terms of their adrenal health?
I mean, I would say all of you probably agree that women are less resilient than men, for sure. Most of the time, you will run into some men that have it a little bit worse, but yeah, I mean, there's so many downstream effects, right? I mean, there's so many downstream effects, and I think that what we don't realize at first is our body has compensatory mechanisms in place to maintain this feedback loop that we have going on, and how long you maintain that really just depends on how long you take breaks in between, because I guarantee for most people that feedback loop is not 100% perfect right after you compete. It's just not, you know what I mean? Most women, like we know other things now about in terms of like potentially maintaining menstrual cycles during prep or better and all this stuff. Like we're learning about this stuff, but even then you can't not get a woman in contest shape and expect her to not have an elevated stress response at all. Like it's just not going to happen. So the problem is recovery, right? And the problem is recovery in between. And you can even take into consideration looking at like some of the data that they put out, like on natural bodybuilders, and they were males, and it was still taking them 6+ months to get all their markers back to normal. So, and we're talking about everything. We're talking about leptin levels. We're talking about cortisol levels, not just the primary hormones, right? And so how long is it going to take for a female? I mean, not 6 months. It's not going to take 6 months. I can't think of many women that I've even worked with that I would have them jump back into another prep in 6 months. there might be an occasion where we know that they're going to take 2 years off or something, and we have a year that they're doing like 2 shows spread out. We might do it once and then they take long period off. But if you're doing it over and over again, yeah, I mean, you're going to typically what you're going to see is you're going to see the typical loss of menstrual cycle, right? And then beyond that, because I think there's a lot of women that have lost their menstrual cycle that they feel relatively normal otherwise, whether that's subjective or not. You can argue that. I think a lot of people get that subjective well-being where they don't feel quite right, but they just feel like that all the time, so they don't know.
Yeah, I agree there.
Yeah, it's probably pretty much subjective, but yeah, I mean, you'll start with that loss of menstrual cycle, and then eventually it'll start trickling down into other effects, and your body's going to compensate by raising cortisol, right? And your sleep begins to get off, right? And now you have even worse than cortisol and circadian patterns. And now your body can't keep up and you end up in insufficiency. And that's the bottom line, right? That's where you're going to end up. And we try to, as coaches, we try to catch it before that happens. And I think most of the time, most of the consults and people I work with, I would say most of them are in full-blown insufficiency. I would say most of them just have irregular cortisol patterns that, maybe they're shifted. They have, like, when you asked about women, so they don't ovulate. They have that progesterone steal going on. They have estrogen dominance. Like, they have all that stuff, but they're maybe not quite into that fully insufficient state.
That's where I'm catching them too. That's where I'm catching most of mine too. But occasionally, unfortunately, you get them labs back and they're just bottom line. But I'm catching them where you are. Cortisol is about 22, 24, 25.
Yeah.
That's on a scale of a high end of 19. So again, that's where I'm saying they're kind of in round 5 there. The body hasn't conked out yet. It's still high producing cortisol, and you can catch it before they're insufficient.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you. That's where I'm catching most of the people. So the smart ones are at least saying, "Oh shit, this doesn't feel right. I really gotta go and get this figured out." And that's where I'm getting a lot of people that need help.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, go ahead and finish up your thought.
I was gonna say, I think there's enough information out now that people might know something's off. They just don't know how to fix it, so they reach out to someone. But if you are someone listening and you're in that state, that's a better place to be in than insufficient, because
Correct.
You haven't fully damaged your gland. Like,
Correct.
So you don't want to let it go any longer than you have to.
Nope.
What do you guys think about women who will compete all year and then they don't take any time off? You see them going again.
They better have a damn good coach that knows how to keep getting their period back quick.
So with that being said, though, when we're getting when we're getting female clients to work with who want to compete, what steps should coaches be considering taking, or the client be proactive in taking, to kind of stave this off as they're going through prep? Would you recommend more adaptions? Would you recommend some of the liposomal Chase Berry by New Ethics? Is a shameless plug there. A little adrenal health. I mean,
Are you asking, like, if Austin had a client that came and said, "Look, I'm going to try to hit a lot of these shows for the full year. What would we do?" Your type thing?
Yeah, like, let's throw it out there as a panel, because I think people want to understand, because we do have competitors who listen who are going to be like, "Look, I'm going to do 6 shows because Sally's at these 6 shows, and Sally's going to be looking for me, and I want to be seen by her," whatever that woman's name is.
I think you're talking Sandy.
Sandy. Yeah, that's the name that's always said. So
yeah.
I'm kind of like, you're going to get girls who want to go till they get the pro card, and they've got like 9 shots in 1 year to do it. So they're going to do it. So what could we do as coaches to better set them up for success? And then the client athlete be able to be protective and proactive in their own end too.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to ask some questions first. I want to know, like, what do they look like at past shows? If we're talking about girl that's pro caliper, it's going to be different than, Karen that goes to all the local shows, but she's never actually in shape. Karen's not going to get hurt probably because she's never actually really in shape. She might have the coach that does the fish and asparagus diet, and she might have some problems, but your girls that are actually getting extremely lean, that's a whole different story than your girls that aren't. You know what I mean? And then you got to look at like, how are they getting there? What's it going to take for them to get there? That's going to vary so much from person to person, just like it does for men. But I think even more so in women, there's some women, like biologically, women aren't made to get that lean. That's just how it goes. And let's look at, like, I like to kind of put it to them like this. I said, what would you look like if you just exercised and you ate intuitively, like at a maintenance? Like, what would your body fat be? And I said, are you very lean or not? And they, well, no, I'm naturally kind of thicker. I said, well, it's going to be a lot harder for you probably to get that lean, and that's going to be harder on your body because we're getting further away from your set point, right? The further away we get, the worse it's going to get. And that's just the reality. But yeah, I mean, if they're set on it, then, we're going to have to do things like make sure we have sufficient time. I'm going to definitely want to work with them beforehand. We're going to have to refeed. I'm going to have to give time to do probably diet breaks in there if I can afford it. And when I say diet break, I would say anything more than like a 2-day refeed is going to be kind of a break. Yeah, I might use something like the liposomal chasteberry to help keep their progesterone up, help keep them ovulating. Absolutely, if I can keep a period, I'm not going to freak out if they lose their period a little bit at the end. I'm not going to freak out about that. If we're jumping right into the prep and they have 16 weeks to go and their period's gone, that's bad news. And then of course, anything else that I can do to mitigate stress, it's going to come down to their routine, right? Everything that they're doing. I mean, it's going to be all the normal stuff that everyone else is going to do. It's just going to be a matter of doing it better and also trying to support their hormones. Like I said, now if they're enhanced, that's going to maybe add a little bit different element into it, because if they're taking PEDs, they probably won't have a menstrual cycle anyhow, because, once they introduce that androgen in there, they're probably not going to have one. With that said, that's not to say that their body's not still wrecked, because now we're going to have to pay more attention. If I'm a natural athlete, I can look a little more at menstrual cycle. Now, I don't want anyone to take this statement the wrong way, but I would say in that situation, you're probably going to have less long-term ramifications if you have some light enhancements throughout and some thyroid support and some things like that, because you're not going to crash everything. And when you come out of it, you're going to have to come off, and you're going to have to rebuild and let your HPTA axis come back and your thyroid and everything. But if we just go off of nothing and crash everything, and you have no androgen support, you have no thyroid support, you're probably going to have a lot harder time coming back. I think that's something that we briefly talked about at that last PEC when we were in Atlanta. We talked about the difference between women prepping naturally and women prepping with using some enhancement. And I'm not talking about they need to be like on Test Trend and Masteron and shit like that. I'm talking about they have some.
Watch your mouth. We got the master bikini prep guy on our fucking podcast. Fucking bikini sensei Jason.
Yeah. I'm talking about it might even just be some Osterine. It might even just be like a light SARM like Osterine to keep their androgens up and not let that estrogen dominance come in as much. And we might add some chasteberry in there to keep their progesterone levels, progesterone to estradiol balance right. Personally, I've had success with people using a replacement dose of thyroid hormone throughout. And when I say replacement, I'm talking a clinical replacement dose that keeps them in normal range. I'm not talking about 200 mics of T3. I'm talking about clinical replacement dose can be anywhere from 25 to 38.5. It's normally somewhere in that range, maybe a little bit less, might be 12.5 for some people. And we're just keeping it normal. Now, when they come off of it, are they going to drop back down? Yeah, temporarily. However, their gland wasn't completely smashed during the prep. Their TSH wasn't 9,000 during the prep trying to keep up with this thyroid hormone production. So now that they come off, they're going to have a healthy gland that's going to be able to recover, because basically it just sat there dormant the whole time. It didn't really do anything, So I mean, that might be a controversial take on things, like, but you
An
need,
honest take.
yeah, but I'm just saying, like, in some way, shape, or form, you need hormone support in place if you plan on down regulating your hormones for that long. You need something.
So the moral of this story is, for females, the further out from a show they get with a coach to get some blood work, labs, kind of how things are going to be set up, get a feel for the body, the better it is going to be as far as their long-term impact. So that way they can actually compete for more than 5 years, because you're seeing a lot of women who compete hard for a couple of years, then you never see them again, and the ones who kind of been able to go further are the ones who space it better, for what I've seen, the ones that I follow. So that was a good way to kind of wrap it up. Do you guys have any little rapid fire questions in the last little 10 minutes we have? Anything at all? I feel like that was a really good cover, top to bottom and so forth.
Yeah. I think that last part for women in terms of maintaining longevity and prepping before you actually start the prep. I've talked about this a lot on my walk and talks, the step-by-step that I do in the morning, and to my clients as well. So Austin, thank you for that. Totally agree with what you did.
That's for men too. I mean, that's for anyone. I mean, if you can.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I like to, and that's not just, and that's, I know our topic is mostly adrenal health, and we're talking about maintaining adrenal health, but I mean, I like to learn everyone's stress response. I mean, I can tell a lot about a person just by seeing how they recover from training, like seeing how tightly wound they are in their updates and stuff. And that kind of tells me like what I need to, how hard I can push them, how often I need to give them rest, maybe even how I need to treat them psychologically. Like if I'm going to have to tell them to chill the fuck out all the time, like is that type of person or what is it? Like all that stuff makes a difference. It's really hard. It's really, really hard to just prep someone right off the rip for 16 weeks that you know nothing about, unless they just get lean pretty easily.
Right.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah. Austin, we actually are going to want to have you on in a couple more weeks down the road. I got to circle back with you, but we want to bring you on to do a deep dive on training. Since that's kind of a topic that people have. So we're going to talk about probably the gym pop training paradigm versus the bodybuilding paradigm, to the everything in between where you like to shit your pants when you squat paradigm. So I want to thank you very much for joining us today.
Definitely. Thanks, man.
I feel like that was probably one of the better ones we've done as far as a comprehensive overall that wasn't so superiorly intellectual that people are going to be messaging us going,
I mean, I always like to have applicable knowledge that you can take away. Like, okay, I can do this and make myself better. Like, and so I think we covered that here.
Yep.
We listed all the blood work, the early signs to look for that aren't on the lab work. We told you guys about how to watch things early on and catch it early on. So yeah.
Yep, supplements to help fix it, the whole 9 yards. All right, so I'm going to swing this out. Jason, when's your class date for the hormones, or have you not set that up yet?
I haven't set another one yet because I just got done, but I think it's going to be June. There will be another June class, because I kept telling people, hey, if I keep putting 10 in the seats, I'm going to run it until there's just no demand. But I am going to go ahead and try to get either a May or an early June date for my gut protocols, which will be, going over SIBO, going over acid reflux, a bunch of different things that I use to, get that aspect healthy.
Yeah. Well, all you got to do now is Gut Defender, and you're soon to be Biofilm Destroyer, and you're great.
I've got one being quoted now. It's going to be amazing.
I know you do. I'm waiting for the day that you can actually cultivate mushrooms, and we can make a real cognitive enhancement for New Ethics one day.
Hey, if you put a nice mushroom formula together and it's for focus, I'll look at it.
I know you would. Sue, when's your class?
My first business class is this Wednesday at 7 p.m. So I'll be talking about branding and marketing. Yep.
Sweet. My leadership class with Lauren Conlon's June 2nd at 6 p.m. Eastern time. We have 4 spots left. We've actually been getting a lot of good feedback on that. I'm going to talk about how to build a gym culture, and she's going to talk about how to build an online coaching culture. And then we're going to do a combined thing together, basically on hiring, firing, and cornerstones and culture pieces, and then do a Q&A. So it's going to be about a 2.5 to 3 hour
nice
class, kind of what you do.
Value there.
Yep, exactly. I think it'll be great. Austin, do you got any classes coming up? You got ways people want to maybe follow you on your YouTube if you want to shout all that out real quick as we seal it up?
Yeah. So YouTube, well, easiest way is just go on my Instagram, Austin ST8. And then I have a link tree in there that has all the podcasts, YouTube channel, Facebook page, all that good stuff, website. If you guys like coaches or clients, anyone that wants to deep dive on topics, like I just did ramp up my mentorship program. Now I know not everyone wants that, and not everyone might want a longer term thing. I've been doing a lot of consults with coaches just like this topic. They can't help clients with this topic, and they want to do an hour consult with me and learn everything they can about this topic so they can go out and help their clients. I can do that. So any hormone health training, whatever, it doesn't matter. You can contact me and we can do the rundown of it. Whatever I give you is yours to take, and you can use it with your clients. So
That's sweet. That's
Very
good
cool.
value right there, man. That's good
That's
value. And then lastly, guys, be sure to get at one of us for Austin, Jeff, Jason, or myself about September 4th or September 18th in Nashville. And if you guys liked it today, learned anything, want to maybe give, write a written review about how beautiful and immaculate Sue looks all clean shaven and how Jason's just smiling today and Austin's beard with the Golden Girls shirt on is great. And then I'm just hearing a Slayer, I look like death stuff, but I'm really happy. I had a good
You look it.
weekend.
Mhm.
Dude, I'm telling you, I came back fucking recharged. My mind was clear. I'm like realigned with the universe. I'm just kicking ass, taking names, just waiting for my gym to reopen. That's about it.
All right. That's good.
So, all right. Well, next week we have Jamie Pender joining us. She has a few topics we're going to chit chat about. And then after that, I think we're actually going to have Meredith on if her schedule will allow, which is one of Jason's coaches that
Okay.
he just vetted out. And she's
Yep.
underneath the Scooby brand. And then we'll be bringing Austin back on for training. And then we got some other cool things going down. But, dude, a lot of people really like that Chris Casey one that we threw at him about social media. That was
Good.
kind of like,
I think there's still more we could do there probably.
yeah, no. And he was talking about that. He's like, I like come on and maybe do some like real deep stuff on it and bring
Cool.
another guy on. I'm like, I'm down with that. Like,
Hell
I'm
yeah.
down for any of that stuff. So,
Oh yeah.
but if you guys have any topics you'd like for us to cover, feel free to reach out to us in the meantime.
Definitely.
But this will drop tomorrow when you guys hear it. And y'all have yourself a good week.
See you
All right.
guys.
Thanks,
Ciao,
Sean.
ciao.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everyone, for
Austin.
listening.
yeah, thanks guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care, guys.
Yeah,
Bye.
you too, dude.